Hey everybody, Jeff from Corrugated Cavalier here. Today we're going to be going over some of the guards in the Fiore manual, and today I'm mostly going to be looking at the stable and powerful guards, as the translation calls them. Some of these guards, if you're not familiar with Longsword, might look perhaps a little too fancy or non-practical, but we're going to kind of go over some of that, okay? So the powerful and stable guards are ones that we typically stand in, or maybe we're there before we start an attack or as we end an attack. There are more guards called fluid, which I'll talk about later, which are sort of more in the middle of actions or kind of like transitionary guards, okay? So I'm going to give both the English and I'm going to do my best with the Italian pronunciations. Thank you to Federico Malaguti, and I'll leave his link in the description below. He's a fantastic YouTube follow. We got to get him more subscribers. He has amazing beginner's guides for Italian longsword. He also goes into buckler, I-33. He also goes into spear and all kinds of other stuff. And as far as I've seen, the best beginner guide on YouTube. Okay, so without further ado, the guards, the powerful and stable guards. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the Iron Gate. And Fiore calls this a powerful guard. Left foot forward, typically. Okay, and Fiore says that you can cover attacks from all angles. I mostly believe that. And you could also easily step this way and have a hanging parry of sorts. And he also says it's good for a variety of offense, which I also believe. You've got your middle cuts from here, you've got easy upward cuts or sotani, and it's pretty easy to get to the downward cuts as well. Also easy to get to a thrust, okay? So that's Iron Gate or Porta di Ferro. And then the next one we've got is Stance of the Queen on the Right, which is a powerful guard in the translation, or Posta di Donna in Italian. So I've kind of got the sword back like this. Okay, typically left foot forward. And Fiore mentions that all 7 strikes can come from this guard easily, and that it's good to break guards. I would say, you know, most of the strikes can come easily. You might have a little difficulty getting to this one. You have to transition quite a bit for that one, but other than that, I agree with that. But it's also very good for breaking guards, and what he means by that is you can take a step and just do a little half cut, and then enter with a thrust. And Federico has one video that's actually dedicated to that maneuver itself. And then we have a similar stance just on the left called Stance of the Queen on the Left, also considered a powerful stance. This is Donna Sinistra in Italian. The manual actually shows it with the left leg forward still. In practice, I've seen it also with the right foot forward as well. So this is quick to cover. I agree with that. It's easy to cover vital areas quickly. And it's also good to generate power, absolutely. Your hips are already kind of loaded up because you're turned like this, right? So you can make a very quick cut. It's also, once again, good to not break guards as much, but you still could, but to break thrusts, okay? Covering that line from the thrust. And also, Fiore mentions to close to narrow plays, and we're going to talk about this some more too. So what he means by that is step forward, and then the narrow plays are like a lot of grappling and things like that, or like sword, you still have sword contact somehow, but you're getting your hands on them and using the sword to grapple and stuff like that, which is actually a lot more common, at least in the Fiore manual and Italian longsword. I've seen a lot of that, and that doesn't get represented a lot in the online HEMA community, even though it is talked about. Okay, so Those are the powerful guards. So Iron Gate, stance of the queen on the right, stance of the queen on the left. Okay, those are considered the powerful guards. Now we're going to move on to stable guards. So there's one called Middle Iron Gate. Fiore says that that's strong on thrusts and for beating attacks upwards, so I could totally see that. So if we're here, you got a very easy thrust. Kind of deceptive too, because the length of the sword is not easily available if your opponent's eyes are at your eye level. And you can also use false edge cut to beat attacks upward. I don't really use that, haven't used that one that much so far. And then there is the shortened stance, also a stable stance. Or breve in Italian. Fiore says that this is deceptive, but risky to wait in. And it's good for waiting, moving, trying to kind of find your opening for a quick thrust. So just kind of bobbing in and out. You've got thrusts from a lot of different angles available here. I do think it's a little bit risky to wait in because it's a little passive, and if you're going to do any cuts, you have to then chamber to a different guard. So that's shortened stance or breve. The next stable stance is Wild Boar's Tusk, or Dente di Zinghiaro in Italian. Fiore says that this is good for a thrust to the face, and then to return with a strike down to the arms or hands. And you can do this with or without a step. Federico Malagudi also has a video on this as well. So if you're in Dente di Zinghiaro, thrust, and then return with an attack. Actually, he does more of, Federico does more of a beat upward, like I was talking about before with the middle iron gate, and then a strike down, but the principle is kind of the same. So, with a step, thrust, then you could come back down with an attack. Boom. I quite like that. Gets you in and out quickly as well. So that's Wild Boar's Tusk, or Dente di Zinghiaro. And finally, we have one that I haven't used much once again, called Stance of the Long Tail. And this is considered a stable stance. So, Stance of the Long Tail. Fiore says that it's good to wait in, even though that seems kind of ridiculous because your sword's all the way back here, but it's easy to transition to other guards. Now I'm in Donna Sinistra. Now I'm in Iron Gate. Now I'm in Middle Iron Gate, right? So it's easy to get to other stances very easily. He also says that it's good for a powerful downward strike. So I agree with that, absolutely. Step forward and... Whew, sorry, the wind kind of messed up the platform for my camera there for a second. Step forward, powerful downward strike. And then he says after that, once again, we're talking about the narrow plays. He says that it's easy to enter to narrow plays from there as well. So these guards, they're all back, most of them are back, and people might think that that's a little odd if they're not familiar with longsword technique already. But there are a couple of good things about the stances being back like that. Number one, this is sort of a heavy object still, and if your arms are always out protecting yourself, your arm's going to get tired very quickly. The second point is, you notice there's really not any hand protection other than this cross guard right here on a longsword. So your hands are vulnerable targets, so keeping them back until you're ready to strike is actually a pretty good idea. If your hand gets chopped while you're sword fighting, you're probably going to lose that fight. The third thing is, if you're in an extended stance like this, you can't really get any powerful cuts. You can just get all these little things, right? To really get any power on a cut, you need to chamber here first. So that's adding extra movement, actually. So if you're new to longsword technique and some of that looks like a little funky to you, those are some of the reasons why the stances are more over the body, right? The hands are back, the weight of the weapon is closer to your center of gravity, and you're already chambered for a strike, okay? So these are the powerful and stable stances in the Fiore manual. I hope that this was helpful or interesting to some of you out there. If you have any comments about different stances that you like or don't like, or why would you do this, how would you use this or that, feel free to comment below. Please click subscribe, please click like, please share this with anybody that you might think will find it interesting, and let's keep growing the community. All right, guys, be good to each other. Thank you.